hate sometimes is fear. Sometimes people are hiding themselves because they're hiding themselves through their hate because they're scared of their own reflection. They don't want to focus on who they are so that they can fix who they are.
I think that one of the issues I see in my work with people and this idea of truth is they don't understand the concept of polarity, where more than one thing can be true at one time. And because we hold ourselves hostage to our past truths, a lot of times it's difficult to stand in your present truth or to have a vision for yourself in the future. And so if we collectively um, share our collective truth is what I'm saying, I think we'll have an easier route to this whole journey of truth. You know, I am who I am today because of who I was in the past. And so, you know, some people get to where they are and then they want to kill off, you know, who they used to be. I had a client last week. She said, "Yeah, I had a funeral for the old me." And I'm like, "How dare you? You know, how dare you kill the person who brought you to this moment? How dare you kill the person who endured all of the trauma that you are trying to heal from because they didn't give up. That person didn't give up. You're here. You know, how dare you not share that you're on the spectrum and you're living this beautiful life, inspiring other people because of what someone else might think? Or how dare I not say that I'm the product of teenage parents and I grew up in the projects because I'm afraid that someone won't see me as a college graduate and they won't see me as a songwriter who topped the Billboard charts. Like one of those things are true and the other one can't be. And so when I share the message of truth, it's the whole truth. If you can't take the whole truth, then you can't take me. And I don't like to be in any space where I have to leave parts of me behind.
I always look at my story as a book, and everything is a different chapter, right? Well, as my journey keeps going, well, the old chapters aren't being shared anymore, or they're shared in such a small bit, and I get proud of things like seeing it heroes where they really speak toward who I used to be to show how I became who I am, or something like that, where it's a storyline because it goes back. And I always tell people, it's like when people see me as this positive guy, it's like, but you forget that I was born, raised in the hood first. And I had this mindset that led to me being shot and being okay with dying at that moment. And you have to understand, like, there's a whole lot of people with that mindset that I'm still connected to. There's a whole lot of people that I can't forget about. And even though I've risen above some adversity, I cannot forget who I am because I am continually having to plant those seeds into those people, not planting the seeds to the people that are blind to what we have to go through. But that's where you're saying, like, if you don't share your truth, people don't understand, and it really doesn't resonate with the right people to help us grow. And so I just, I wanted to be brief on that, but literally my platform started to cloud my truth, and I started to find a way to just go unapologetic now. Because as a Black man, I am aware that I could die today, tomorrow, anytime, and that's my truth. So why would I hide my own truth just to make someone else feel comfortable in a space that I know I might not be in tomorrow?
Taylor, I would love to hear where you come from and your stance on that truth.
I think under the system we live in, there's a lot of perfection. And for people of color, that pressure is even greater to behave, to perform a certain way. And I know that perfection is problematic, when we're talking about healing, because it creates this critique and judgment towards self and others. And it just passes on from generation to generation to generation. So like I was saying earlier about, I got my master's in social work. I don't really remember talking about social workers needing social work and therapists needing therapy. I don't remember that narrative so much in classes, but I needed that. I needed to hear that it was okay. And because I didn't hear that, when I found out I was pregnant and was struggling with prenatal depression, I was like doing anything to avoid calling that therapist because I don't need that. I am a social worker. I am trained to be a therapist, so that's not something that I need. And it took me to get to like the darkest of my depression to be like, okay, I'm calling somebody. I need that support. And just giving myself the permission to not be perfect, to not always have things together, to be able to admit that I'm struggling, that I'm not okay, and addressing my anxieties, you know, going back to therapy within the last couple months, because this time is tough. You know, there's this idea that I don't know, therapists have it all together, or that, I don't know, we have defied and overcame our mental health, and we're not dealing with anxiety and our PTSD and, you know, our depression, but we're human beings with a history, with things that we are struggling with just like anyone else. And that permission is so important to me. You know, I practice it, I teach it. You know, give yourself the permission to feel, to be an imperfect human who is still trying, you know, still thriving, still actively healing every single day. And, you know, the more I give that permission, I think April said it earlier, we just give others the permission to do the same. Like it really is a community act. And I know Nakia would agree that self-love is about community. Like, it is not some selfish, individual, all about me thing. When I love on me, my daughter is learning to do the same. Like, she is learning how to do that. That's a community act. And I just think it's so beautiful to self-love as a coping skill, to call a therapist if you need it. You know, there are Black therapists out there who want to help you heal, who want to, you know, normalize your depression, anxiety, these things that you are dealing with, because you're not alone.
We'll hear you real quick as well, Joseph, on this topic, but then we'll share what were some of the practices that we had to do to literally live into our truth. Because it's not just saying, oh man, I'm gonna just go out and speak my truth, because every day you're gonna be tested in a way that you're like trying to figure out, do you be freely open, or are you gonna do I hold it back, right? And so how do we let people know what are the things so that you can be truly authentic in your skin all day, every day? And I know the kid's gonna hit really hard on that one too. But
Okay.
Joseph, please share like more or less of just you know, how did you find yourself getting into your truth, right?
Okay. How I found myself getting into my truth was back in high school, because at age 3, I was diagnosed with autism and stuff, and I didn't know about my autism until age 15, when I slid on a sheet of ice because of a Cavalier stunt at a winter camp retreat, and I found out I was autistic and something. My parents didn't tell me this because they didn't want me to hold me back from accomplishing my primary objective of doing well in school and stuff. I was like, okay, I have autism, cool. I'm not going to complain about something. No, don't get me wrong. I had struggles in high school. I was bullied because I was different, and a lot of people said some unkind things. I don't no longer hold a grudge against them, but I hope they find healing within themselves. I don't hold any ill will towards anyone. The fact of the matter is that we live in a world that's filled with hatred, malevolence, and all this unimportant stuff like, hey, I want to be popular. Hey, I want to be on top. And, you know, we have to have an honest conversation with ourselves. Why are we hungry for things that we can't even consume? I mean, we have to be honest. Says, hey, why do you want to do this and stuff? Hey, why do you want to prove a point to someone? You don't have to prove a point. You don't have to play any card, but to be genuine, you know? And there have been times in my work that I've been accused of something. I was called the N-word by a person of my hue last year when I told my cashier at Register 11 that they had water under the register. Around 11:31 a.m. on that one of those days, the person called me the word that really gets me fired up. And I told the manager about this. I almost went after the person to see if I can still spot him or something, but luckily it didn't and stuff. I just let it go or something. It kind of makes me mad that people of our hue are fighting against one another. Another incident happened on my 2,301st time at Giant Eagle when I told someone who happened to be my hue to put on their mask or something. I told him twice or something like, don't tell me this. I said, sir, please put on your mask. And then he got in this spiel like, he was like, to paraphrase, you want to go right now or something? Like, my intention is not to quarrel with you. And he's like, yes, your intention is to quarrel with me and something. And they had to call the management up or something. And he had the audacity to paraphrase it. He called me a sellout and stuff, paraphrased and stuff by saying that Giant Eagle's using black people to harass other black people and all that other malign malarkey. And I was told that I do the right thing and stuff. If I see someone without a mask, I tell them, sir, miss, please put on your mask. I even hand them the mask to avoid causing an alarm.
So Joseph, when you say that, right? Because I love that, and we can go right into that, because hate sometimes is fear. Sometimes people are hiding themselves because they're hiding themselves through their hate because they're scared of their own reflection. They don't want to focus on who they are so that they can fix who they are. So like literally, I think, at least for me, I speak my truth of knowing who I used to be and embodying that. Like I think Nikhil was saying, like, I don't want to bury that person. I just knew I was that person, and that person helped me evolve. I think there's a quote out here. It's like, adversity plants the seed for growth. You know what I mean? And so I really understand that. And so there's a lot of people that would prefer to, I mean, I lived a negative life. Like every day I woke up negative. And it's like, why did you wake up negative? Because I hated who I was. So I showed that hate to the world. You know, it's a reflection of yourself. It's not really a reflection on how you feel about the world. It's literally how you feel about yourself. You know, and so sometimes, so now I want to, you know, we'll throw that back to now Nikhil. It's like, okay, where was that, you know, what was those practices that helped you, you know, begin to speak your truth? But then also, like, you know, as I share about the reflection part, you know, was there a time where you had to like understand, like, okay, I'm ready to just be unapologetic. I'm ready to speak my truth. I'm ready. Or was it always for you? Right. Yeah. So go ahead and let us know how you feel, because God is fired up in a little bit.
I think for me, it wasn't like necessarily a moment where I made a decision to speak my truth, but there was absolutely a moment where I decided to create and co-create and stand in my truth. So I like to share the story of when I was 10 years old. I was in a assembly of some sort with other at-risk youth, and there was a speaker who came, and she talked about the statistics that are involved in, you know, social work, sociology, when they look at people who come from my background. So she said things like, if you were raised in a home where there were teenage parents, you're more than likely to be a teenage parent. Raised in a home with drugs and alcohol, you're more than likely to be an alcoholic. And she just continued to go on and on. And it was in that moment that I was like, I felt so, when I always say, first of all, I was upset because I'm like, you're telling my whole story, all my business out here. Everyone's going to know that this is my life. Every single statistic she gave, it was the story of the people who were raising me. So that was one. And then two, it just didn't resonate. And so I tell people things only really penetrate you when they resonate on some level, when they resonate with you. And it just didn't feel good. I was like, I know who my parents are, but it's not going to be me. So I think I know there was a decision there to create my own life, to not be what other people decided I was going to be. But the other thing is, I think the beauty of seeing other people at their worst, but knowing the best of parts of them too, showed me that just because you behave a certain way or end up in a certain lifestyle or make certain choices, it doesn't mean that you're bad. We don't need to throw the whole person away. And so it's easier to accept your truth when you understand that there are multiple truths to you. And I think that's what it was. Like, once I realized that just because I come from where I come from and I have these circumstances, I can still, and I think if we sit in that still, I can still be this person. I can still do these things. I can still impact my community. Imagine being shot. I know people who are paralyzed and then saying, that's it, that's my life. We wouldn't be given this gift that you've given us this gift of resilience, this gift of being a survivor, of being still a strong Black man. You can't be a strong Black man because you're sitting with us instead of standing next to us. Like, who told you that? Or who told those people who gave up that? And so I think that's what it was for me. It's in the still. I can be this and still.